Charles, good morning. How are you?
Man, I'm doing great, man. How you?
I'm doing okay. How many Pro Bowls did you make?
Made 9 altogether.
How many times did you go to the Pro Bowl and play?
I think I actually went four times, 5 times maybe.
How do you get out of not going the other times?
How do you get out of going?
Yeah, because guys will say, I got surgery. Is that usually the key that, hey, I'm glad to be making the Pro Bowl, but I got this surgery that I got to have?
Yeah, I mean, it's usually an injury, after each season. I mean, everybody could probably claim something. And so, a lot of guys will say, either I have a surgery or I was dealing with, this particular injury all season long, so I'm going to give myself a chance to rest and not go and play in an all-star game. So that's usually how it goes.
What did you think of the NBA voting where Steph Curry and James Harden are going to start in the all-star game, but Russell Westbrook is averaging a triple-double and he's not starting? Like, how big is it? How important is it, do you think, from the player's perspective, to start as opposed to coming off the bench?
Well, I think in this case, it's one of those things. I think it's kind of like the Hall of Fame. You every year somebody goes in and somebody else is basically snubbed, for lack of a better word. But how do you argue against the guys that are going in? So for this particular, deal with the All-Stars, Steph and Harden are, two of the best players in the game. But then when you look at Russell Westbrook and a guy that's, averaging a triple-double, you can't fathom how this guy is not starting on the All-Star game. So I see the argument both ways, I guess.
I watched your cohort, Randy Moss, on the NBA show. He was talking about he could average 20 when he was if he played in the NBA in his prime. And we look at Randy Moss as he was a big guy in the NFL, a tall guy in the NFL.
Right.
Like, if Randy Moss was on the floor in the NBA, it would take you a couple of minutes to go, which one's Moss? Because he'd only be 6'5", right?
Yeah. The only way, man, he would have averaged. He would have had to been a point guard in the NBA, at 6'4". So he would have been one of those guys, man, that depending on what he was trying to play, he would have been a tweener. So he might not have seen many. He might not have seen many minutes on the court.
Best athlete at ESPN is who?
I'm going with myself.
Okay, all right. What about aside from you?
Aside from me?
Yeah.
Oh, Randy all day.
Better than Rose or any of the NBA guys?
Say that again.
Jalen Rose?
Is it? Yeah. Jalen was. I only know him as a basketball player. When I think athlete, I think of a guy that can do everything. And myself, I know I could do it all growing up, and still think I can. And Randy was the same way. So when you speak of athletes, guys that can pretty much go into any arena and be effective, you're going to start with us too.
Which quarterback in his prime would you want to face? Or of all these quarterbacks, if you consider Brady still in his prime, considering the year that he had, but of these four, rank the one you would want to face and maybe the one that you would not want to face. Who would be the one you would want to face?
The one I would want to face, I guess I would have to say Big Ben as a defensive player, because I know Ben, the way he scrambles, out of the pocket, he's always looking to take shots downfield. So as a defender, you're going to have that opportunity to make plays on the ball. So I would go with Ben as the guy that I would want to face. As far as the other guys, with Rodgers and Brady, man, they take such good care of the football. It's hard to get, one of their passes. They have, unbelievable, track records, especially, this season of taking care of the football, each of them, in single digits and interceptions. So those guys right now, of course, are the toughest. with Aaron Rodgers having the added ability to scramble, more than a Brady. So those guys are the toughest right now, I think.
When did you know? What was the moment where you kind of saw Rodgers and you went, okay, the guy's the real deal as a teammate?
It happened in practice every day. When he was on the scout team, when I first got there, Brett Favre being the quarterback, of course. I mean, me and A-Rod used to play, these cat and mouse games together every day in practice, me being on the defense and, just going against him and that scout team, man, he could make unbelievable throws. He was unbelievably accurate, at that time. But I think that the time when he got into the game, I think in 2007 against the Dallas Cowboys, Brett went out with an injury, and A-Rod got into the game, and, he almost led us back to a comeback victory. Mm-hmm. But I think, just watching him, everybody on that sideline was watching this young kid sling the ball around and have such great command of the offense. Having that being his first time really getting into action in a regular season game, man, it was beautiful to see. And I think that was the very moment when, everybody, said, the moment's not too big for him. The shadow of playing behind Brett Favre is not too big for him. Once he gets his shot, he's going to be ready to roll.
Was Rodgers better than Favre at that time?
No, he wasn't better than Favre. I mean, Favre was special. I mean, make no mistake about it. But as far as a guy who, like I said before, who didn't seem to mind, the pressure of being the guy behind Brett, Aaron definitely had that confidence, and you knew, like I said, once he got his shot, the Packers were going to be in good hands.
It's Charles Woodson from the Mothership joining us, Dan Patrick Show. The Tuck anniversary. What happens on the anniversary? It was yesterday on the Raiders and the Patriots. Do you acknowledge that day at all, Charles?
No, I don't acknowledge it. And, it's funny. I we talked about it yesterday. I got a call and somebody reminded me that it was the anniversary. And I'm like, Jesus, I was out there on the golf course and I was shanking balls left and right. And I couldn't figure out why. And then all of a sudden I'm reminded that it's the anniversary of the tug rule. I'm like, no wonder I can't hit a ball. So, yeah, it's, that game is, to me, it's kind of weird, or not weird, but it seems so crazy that it's been 15 years. It's a long time ago.
What did the referee say to you, though, Charles? After that hit, after the fumble, what's the referee say to you?
I don't think I had any interaction with the referee. I remember hitting Brady, seeing the ball out, and I was able to see Greg Beekert recover. And then I was ready to ride off into the sunset. I'm celebrating, running to the sideline. And then all of a sudden they said that they're going to review it. And I don't. Nobody on that sideline could understand what they were actually reviewing. So I didn't have any interaction with the official after that.
Do you think Raider fans will follow the Raiders to Vegas? At some point, do they just say, you know what, enough with this, kind of toying with our emotions here? Or are they that loyal?
No, they're that loyal. It's going to sting, of course, if the Raiders pick up and move. But the Raiders fans are loyal fans. Now, you're going to lose some. I mean, that's just the nature of it. Some people are going to be fed up with it, but a vast majority of Raider fans are Raider fans regardless, and they'll follow the Raiders wherever they may go.
Have fun this weekend, and, of course, with the Pro Bowl. By the way, was it Dilfer? Dilfer broke wind? Is that what happened a couple of weeks ago? It was Dilfer.
What happened?
It was Dilfer, right? You guys were laughing.
No.
It was Dilfer, right?
No, that didn't happen, man. None of our guys would do that.
They would not?
No, we wouldn't do it.
Of course you wouldn't.
We're too classy up there. Man.
Of course you would. Of course you. Nobody would do that, but I think Dilfer did.
No, we wouldn't do it.
Of course you wouldn't. Of course you would. Have fun this weekend. Great to talk to you again, Charles. Thanks for joining us.
Hey, you too.
That's Charles Woodson.
The Dan Patrick Show, weekday mornings on Audience.